There is a number people carry around in their heads for about 30 years, the amount of super they think they need before they can stop working. And for most Australians, that number is wrong, usually by hundreds of thousands of dollars. And it is wrong in both directions depending on where you sit. Some people are aiming at a figure they will never need. Others are aiming at one that will quietly cost them money the moment they reach it. Because retirement in this country is not one system. It is a superannuation balance and an age pension entitlement working against each other, and the second one shrinks as the first one grows, which produces outcomes that look completely irrational until you sit down and work through the arithmetic, and then look completely inevitable. There are 4 levels of Australian retirement. At one of them, having more money in super leaves you with less to actually live on every year. That is not a metaphor, and it is not an exaggeration. We will do the numbers. First, the benchmark everyone quotes. The Association of Superannuation Funds of Australia prices an actual basket of retirement expenses every quarter and publishes what it costs. As of the March quarter this year, a modest lifestyle for a single homeowner is $36,434 a year. Comfortable is $55,923. For a couple, modest is $52,473 and comfortable is $78,566. Both assume you own your home outright, both assume you are in reasonable health, and both assume you receive at least some age pension. Those assumptions matter enormously, and almost nobody repeats them when they quote the figures. Level 1. You have $200,000 in super. Your name is Denise. 67, retired last year after 22 years in school administration in Bendigo. Owns her house outright, and finished paying the mortgage 6 years before she stopped working. Here is what surprises people. ASFA says the lump sum needed for a modest retirement is $110,000 for a single person. $110,000. Not $500,000. Not the number in the headline of every article about the retirement crisis. Denise has nearly double that, and she has never been told she is comfortably positioned. That figure looks impossibly low until you understand why. At that level, the age pension is doing almost all of the work. Denise is well under the assets test threshold, so she receives the full pension, $31,223 a year, indexed twice a year in March and September, and guaranteed for the rest of her life, regardless of how long that turns out to be. Her super is a top-up, not an income source. Drawing the minimum 5% on $200,000 adds $10,000. Together, that is around $41,000 a year, which puts her several thousand above the modest benchmark and moving toward the middle of the range. And her real protection is not the money. It is that the largest single component of her income is indexed, government-backed, and cannot run out no matter how long she lives. Longevity risk, which is the thing that actually frightens retirees, barely touches her. Level 2. You have $630,000. Your name is Warren, 68. A retired diesel mechanic in Toowoomba, and he hit that number deliberately, over about 15 years of salary sacrificing, because it is the number that appears in every retirement article he has ever read. $630,000 is ASFA's published lump sum for a comfortable retirement as a single homeowner. It went up in February this year, from $595,000, up from $595,000, and that was the first revision ASFA had made to the lump sums in 3 years. Anyone still planning around the old figure is short by $35,000. But read the fine print on that figure because almost nobody does. It assumes you draw down all of your capital by about age 85, and it assumes you receive a part-age pension the whole way through. It is not a self-funding number. It is a number that quietly depends on Centrelink continuing to pay him something every fortnight for 18 years. Take the pension out of the model and $630,000 does not produce a comfortable retirement at all. At $630,000 in assets as a single homeowner, Warren is $297,000 above the full pension threshold of $333,000. The taper takes $3 a fortnight for every $1,000 over, so he still receives a part pension, around $8,000 a year. Add the 5% minimum drawdown on his balance, which is $31,500, and he lands right about where ASFA said he would. The system is working exactly as designed at this level. Level 3. This is the one nobody warns you about, and it is the reason I wanted to make this video. You have $733,500 in super. You are a single homeowner. You have done everything right. That is the exact figure where the age pension for a single homeowner cuts out completely. Not reduces, stops. No part payment, no pension or concession card, no discount on pharmaceuticals, no reduced car registration, none of the ancillary benefits that come attached to receiving even $1 of pension. So compare two people. Someone with $700,000 draws $35,000 at the 5% minimum and still collects about $2,597 in part pension. Total, roughly $37,600. Someone with $733,500 draws $36,675 and collects nothing. Total, $36,675. Read those two numbers again, slowly. The second person has $33,500 more sitting in superannuation and roughly $900 a year less to actually live on. Plus, they have lost the concession card, which is worth more than the $900 on its own. And it does not correct itself immediately. To get back to what the $700,000 retiree receives, you need about $752,000 in super, which means there is a band of roughly $50,000 sitting right at the top of the assets test, where every additional dollar you manage to save has actively made you worse off than if you had stopped earlier or spent it. Nobody designed that band deliberately. It falls out of a taper rate meeting a hard cutoff. But it is real. It is simple arithmetic anyone can check, and it sits directly on top of the range that a very large number of Australians are aiming at without knowing it is there. Level 4. You have $3 million. Your name is Estelle, 63. Sold a business 4 years ago, put the proceeds into super over several years using the bring forward rules, and is now dealing with an entirely different set of rules to everybody else in this video. No age pension, obviously, but also only $2.1 million can move into a tax-free pension account because that is the transfer balance cap as of the 1st of July. The remaining $900,000 stays in accumulation, where the earnings on it are taxed at 15% every single year for as long as it sits there. And at $3 million, she has reached Division 296, which started on the 1st of July. Above $3 million, an extra 15% applies to the earnings attributable to the balance above that line, taking the effective rate on that portion to 30%. And unlike the old draft everyone argued about for 2 years, it applies to realized earnings only, not to paper gains. So at level 4, you are not managing a pension entitlement anymore. You are managing two separate tax structures, and the questions are about sequencing and where money sits, rather than about whether there is enough of it. So look at the shape of the whole thing. At $200,000, the pension carries you and your super is a supplement. At $630,000, they share the load, and that is the sweet spot the benchmarks are built around. At $733,000, the pension vanishes and your income can actually fall. At $3 million, the pension is irrelevant, and tax becomes the whole conversation. Which means the number in your head should not be a single figure. It should be a position relative to two thresholds: $333,000, where the pension starts reducing, and $733,500, where it stops. Everything about how your retirement actually functions depends on which side of those you land on. Tell me in the comments which of the 4 levels you are closest to, and whether anyone had ever mentioned that dead zone to you before today.